Hey, it's the Fort Worth Playboy.
And my Playboys Bunny.
And welcome to our podcast where we discuss pickup, game, relationships, and...
Sex.
And today, the topic, it sounds like a pickup line. Or a line you'd open a girl. So who cheats more, men or women?
That's actually a good conversation starter. I like that.
I think that was one of Mystery's old lines.
I think, when I think that would be a good conversation starter is in like a bar situation or whatever, when a girl claims to have a boyfriend or fiance, say, well, who do you think cheats more, men or women?
That's funny.
That way, even though she's like trying to like do the quick, it'd be a good conversation.
That is good.
I think that'd be pretty hot.
Pretty good for engagement.
Yeah.
And we literally kind of like stumbled on this topic last night. I don't know even how we started talking about it.
I'm sure it was Twitter.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. Well, yeah, because there's so many guys talk about girls cheating on them, and especially if it's really fresh.
Yeah.
You can almost tell through a text message almost.
Yeah.
That it's fresh.
There's a lot of anger there.
Yeah.
And I get it.
And so, I said, well, cheating is not my strength. You know what I mean? We've talked about this. And guys have reached out to me. I'm like, it's just not something I've been exposed to a lot.
Right.
But research from the past 2 decades shows that between 20 and 25% of married men cheat, and between 10 and 15% of married women cheat. Any this is self-reporting.
Yeah. I think that's a really critical thing to drive home anytime you see these kinds, any stats like this. Know that those are self-reporting stats. So
therefore they're low.
They're inaccurate.
Yeah.
They are wildly inaccurate.
But our question was who was, cheating more, men or women? And again, you kind of have to balance that. I believe this, and we discussed this, so I think they would be more equal before marriage or outside of marriage.
Yeah.
Then it would be closer to like 50% each.
Yeah.
Because with women, it's going to drop. Even the reporting is going to drop, of course. But women's status goes up when they get married. Yeah. And the risk of losing that status is a high barrier to entry. It doesn't. Married men, it's not much of a status increase.
No.
When they're married.
But it also, she's busy with kids. She's likely having children.
Very
she's
busy.
Likely, not wanting to risk losing the father of her children.
Yeah.
And
there's a higher loss.
There's a lot to be said for the mom having the same last name as the children and the same last name as the husband. Like, that's a status symbol in and of itself.
True.
So a woman would be a lot less apt to fuck that up.
True. She has greater cost.
Which is another reason why when women remarry, a lot of times they might not take the name of the second husband as long as they have like children in the house still and things like that. They'll keep their ex-husband's last name.
Oh, yeah.
Even if they remarry.
You'll see that consistently.
Because it makes you, it puts you down in status if you're married and,
if your name doesn't match your kids.
Yeah, it does.
All kinds of questions start coming up.
Yeah. Or assumptions.
But again, I think in before marriage or outside of marriage, the cheating is probably more equal because girls are so much better. And there's a lot of like, does it count cheating? Or, does it count sex? And they're better at hiding men.
Yeah.
And they can do that too if they don't live together.
Yeah.
It's easier.
Yeah.
Guys get fooled and probably by their own volition more easily. Yeah. Outside of marriage.
Well, and like we talked about, there's also the variations of cheating. I feel like women across the spectrum are more likely to flirt, kiss, even like sext men, or kind of come almost to that point of cheating, of intercourse, I should say, and then stop because that makes them feel dirty that they've gone this far. So they don't have sex, but they do all the other stuff. And the emotional toll it takes on her is a lot because she is thinking about him all the time. She is acting on that in her mind.
Yeah, and she's disconnected from her husband or her family.
And she's mad at everything he's doing.
Oh,
and
yeah.
all that. Like, he can do no right.
Right.
If she's thinking about how wonderful this other man is.
And how aggravated she is in her current situation.
Exactly.
That's
so,
interesting.
women will do that a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
And it's funny how many women have said, yeah, a guy kind of got between me and my relationship with my husband for a little while. And it's not like all the way, but it was something that was upsetting the balance.
It's a distraction.
Yeah.
Distractions are very dangerous, which is why bored women are very dangerous.
Ooh, yeah.
You do not want to have a wife that's bored, guys.
At home. No. She's got too much time on her hands.
Yeah. But there's also, I would say in dating, there's also a lot of, even in engagement, where it's like, okay, I just got engaged, or I'm about to get engaged, or I'm about to get married, so I can't do this again, but we're going to fuck one more time.
Exactly.
While I'm still not married. Exactly. Quote unquote, not married.
Yeah. Because, I mean, for a lot of women, I think that closes the door.
Yeah.
You know, for a lot of men, they're like, especially if they do business travel.
Yeah.
A lot of this is like understood in a lot of relationships, where as long as he keeps it out of town, you know, over time.
Do you think that's really true now? I mean, yes, I understand that it was understood.
I think it's still at certain levels of affluence and certain levels of professionals, and that, especially if it's very regular that he's out of town.
Yeah.
And it's part of the life. But she has to have a very high quality of life for that to happen.
For her to tolerate.
Yeah, it means not working.
Yeah.
You know, she can't be a high-powered lawyer. She's not going to put up with it. You know what I mean? And again, the rules are, it has to stay out of town. You can't embarrass the wife.
Yeah.
And you don't bring it home. You know, that's, you know, because unfortunately a lot of these guys end up like fucking the nanny.
Yeah.
You know, in their marriage bed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they're just idiots about it.
It's a bad idea.
Yeah. And women will put up with a lot, but they won't put up with being embarrassed in their own neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Now, I will say, and I'm sure a lot of you listening, you know, we'll kind of go back to women and cheating when married. Because, yes, they do still do it. A lot of times, it's not while the kids are young, though. It's kind of once the kids are usually teens, about the time the kids stop needing them so much, they suddenly have a lot of time on their hands.
Yes. Well, and now, what age would you say that is? I mean, you've got experience with this.
I would say about 15-ish.
Interesting. So about to drive.
About to drive. I would say, because they're of the age where they will go on their own to do stuff. They have friends that are driving, or at least, you know, parents of other friends that will drive them all around and stuff like that. It's not always on you. You know, you don't have to get them to practices. They're after school for practice or whatever, instead of having to be taken everywhere. But the bottom line is, and I say this, my kids are great. They're amazing. They like doing stuff with me. But at the same time, about 14, 15, they kind of stop seeking out ways to spend time with the parents.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they want to spend more time with their friends.
Sure.
So about that time is about when wives start getting a little antsy.
Which would make them in their, let's say, like normal timeline.
Yeah.
Late 30s, early 40s.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
that's about when also, statistically, a woman's sex drive starts to peak. I'm sure that is not a coincidence.
Right.
But I would say that that's about the time that women start feeling disgruntled. Yeah. And it's not necessarily because of anything anyone's done wrong. It's because they feel disgruntled because their kid doesn't need them anymore. They feel disgruntled because they realize they have nothing but time on their hands now. Women don't like to not feel needed. So the husband's already gotten used to her not having any time to do stuff for him because she's always busy with the kids.
And the husband's kind of been doing his own thing.
For 15 years. They get mad. Or more.
They get mad at the husband for just living his life.
Yeah. So again, it's not necessarily that anyone's doing anything wrong, but suddenly she's got time on her hands to think about it.
To be unhappy.
and to get pissed off.
Yeah.
And to just be bored and to kind of then any male who comes in her tracks, right. Whether it's a handyman, whether it's a barista at her coffee shop, whether it's a coworker, you name it, anyone who's giving her attention at that point of the opposite sex will be fair game, really.
Interesting. And this is where, and I think not having close family ties, like not having his or her mom living in the house, when they start hitting 40s and, the elderly parents start coming back, or living on the same block, or lots of family interaction. Yeah. Those girls don't tend to stray.
It's true. It goes a long way.
As opposed to like you graduated college and you and your husband moved across the country for his job, and your parents live in New York, you're on the West Coast, and you have your girlfriends. There's no social pressure or familial pressure to stay on track.
Exactly. Good call.
It's one of those things that I think is exaggerated. The situation.
Yeah, it's true. Because you're, like you've said before, women aren't going to fuck around if their mother-in-law is like looking out the window at them, or watching the driveway.
And her best friend is his sister.
Yeah. Seriously.
They're not going anywhere.
That does not happen. I mean, this is one of the great downfalls, I think, of the way that we live now. We live such separate lives from our families that it actually is creating the downfall of our families even more.
Yeah. And there's so much anonymity.
Yeah.
Even if you live in the suburbs, all you have to do is get to the city and no one knows you.
Well, no one knows you in the suburbs anymore.
Unfortunately, it's true.
Anyway, that's a whole other soapbox that we get on.
The anonymity allows for the cheating to happen.
Yeah, it really does. It really does.
It's much more rare, within a smaller confine of a smaller community.
And so I think in dating, men don't necessarily think of it as cheating. They think more of it as running a rotation. Because you've said that before. You've said you ran around on all kinds of girlfriends and never thought anything of it. And I said, well, you were running a rotation without calling it that.
Yeah, but there's a difference between being upfront about what you're doing, the rotation, and this is the type of rotation that we suggest now, which is what we call like a soft harem or running a rotation where the girls know you're seeing other girls. Yeah. But I would have a girlfriend and didn't think twice about running around. You know what I mean? And I kept with this double standard and everything. I was like,
So all this experience that you don't have with this, you are full of shit.
Well, that was before I got married. It was actually faithful. And, which, of course, everybody's amazed that that's possible. But guys are able to do things.
But girls in the same, like when they're just dating, will run around a little bit.
If I was cheated on, which I'm sure I was, I have no idea because I was busy myself. Does that make sense?
You were so oblivious.
Exactly. I mean, I think that has a lot to do with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I can look back and I'll think about some of the things that like girls will have said. I'll be like, how did she know that? I mean, once you start thinking about it, you're like, yeah, I think she's probably running around on me a little bit,
That's pretty funny.
But that would be called even,
But girls, when you're just, let's say, just dating, they, is like you said, if they're not living together, which I think is a big factor. I think if you're living together, it kind of counts almost as married in this realm.
There's some
for the sake of this conversation. Yeah.
And I think, we're talking like, if you're still in college, I mean, it's very fluid.
Yeah.
And under 30 almost. Sure. Of course, there's different maturity levels. But under 30, it's pretty...
And different goals.
Yeah. But then when you start dealing with people that have been married, it's kind of like, now you understand what marriage is.
Yeah.
Because, like, if I messed around with a couple of married women when I was younger.
Yeah.
But I didn't really understand what marriage was.
No.
You know what I mean? And then once you're married, you're like, well, that was horrible. That was a bad idea.
That was a horrible
you know what I
thing
mean? Yeah. That's a gross violation.
Well, that's like when my summer where I had 3 married boyfriends. It was the same thing. It it was great to be the single girl.
Yeah, for once. Yeah.
Because you had nobody checking on you. You were just there for fun. It was great. It was perfect.
Let's touch on this.
Okay.
I think men probably run around for excitement and variety.
Yeah.
They have no intention of like leaving their wife or leaving their girlfriend.
No.
Most of the time.
They all say they do, but they do not.
Yeah. But the bigger mystery tends to be, why do women cheat?
I think...
Let's say unmarried and married. There's going to be a difference.
Okay. I think that for the unmarried, it's because she wants to make sure that she's getting the best deal she can get for the quality of life that she wants.
Hypergamy.
Yeah. Okay. For married women, I would say that it's more for the attention, because she's, again, it's the same thing. She's not feeling needed by her family.
Yeah.
And she's bored. She needs attention. So she's going to get that attention one way or the other.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Do you think unmarried, when they cheat, they have the intention of dissolving their current relationship?
If he turns out to be worthwhile, yeah.
Okay.
I think when they cheat, I think that not necessarily, but they're fishing.
Got it.
And they wouldn't be cheating as an unmarried. They wouldn't be cheating if they weren't willing to risk it all.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. They've decided to cash in their chips if it looks like a good gamble.
Because it literally is just like trying to get as far up the food chain as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Especially if you haven't had kids yet, I would say. Yeah. Well, I don't know. That may not be the case, because when you have kids, there's even more on your plate. You're like, God, I have to take care of these kids. Like, I have to get the best deal. That I can get.
I had another question, but then it just escaped me.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's good.
Yeah. I mean, and that's where I think it is fascinating when we read these any kind of stats about cheating or marital happiness or relationship happiness or satisfaction or any of it, because you have to read between the lines a lot.
And if you're talking about interviewing women, marital happiness, it could depend on the hour that they ask the question.
Oh my gosh, yes. It could it could just depend on that moment. Just like we always say in the red pill, when she says I love you, just add on to that right now.
Right now.
I love you right now.
And it's not a negative. Guys
no,
always
it's
say,
not.
It has nothing to do with negative or positive or high value or low value. It's just the way it is.
Yeah. It's just because women operate under feelings.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And the more you wrap your head around that, the better you understand them.
Yeah.
And you're one of those guys that just gets it. Very important.
It's a win-win.
Yeah. So if you guys like this podcast, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share below. And let's say you're stuck on a chick.
ONEITIS book is for you. So if you think that you missed your opportunity with your soulmate, or if you are recovering from a breakup and you just don't feel like you're getting your feet under you, I've got a great book for you. It's called ONEITIS. I think it's called like ONEITIS, the cause of the cure.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is it walks you into not only realizing that you're not the only one dealing with this, that you are not alone, but there is definitely a cure for it, and you can come out on the other side with a better understanding of women and with better options.
And comment below if you've had experience or, secondhand experience.
Yeah.
This doesn't have to be your own experience.
You can say it was a story that a friend told you.
Yeah. But, sharing this stuff, it makes people feel less isolated.
Yeah.
When they've gotten run around on.
It's true. That's true.
It happens to all of us. Just sometimes we're not even aware of it. You're like, yeah.
That's awesome.
That's just the way it is.
We want you to win. Bye.